Hello, chess friends, and welcome to Zadov's Chess Channel, and welcome to the Tata Steel Masters Tournament in 2021. We're now already in the round 11, and after this round, only 2 more rounds, and then we'll know the winner of this very, very strong and dynamic tournament. This tournament has been really incredible. We have really seen the talented Esipenko, we have seen the talent of Alireza Firouzja, we have seen the new Fabiano Caruana, but we have seen also the great Anish Giri. Anish played an outstanding tournament so far, and I couldn't cover yesterday one of his games. I was so tired. I worked all day. I tried to record one video, and then I've almost fell asleep. So I'm really sorry. And I decided whatever happens with Anish Giri in this tournament, I will make a special video about Anish play. He played really some great tactics in this tournament, and we'll make sort of a special or sort of a contribution to his style of playing in this tournament. I will really make a whole video about every of his game, and because Anish really deserves all of our respect. He has been many times criticized unfairly. I have to say it like this, because Anish is such a great guy. And try this one out at home. Try to see, search in Google Anish Giri being mad or angry. You will never find a picture about Anish Giri where he's angry, where he's mad, where he's making sort of face expressions which are really bad or something. He is a positive guy, and sometimes, as I said, he has been criticized unfairly. He deserves here to be the leader, and I wish him even that he wins this tournament. Really, it seems so that he's really a great guy, and a great and a positive guy. So he faced now Magnus Carlsen. We have a little bit reversed roles here now in the tournament. Most of the times Anish struggled in the middle of the board. Magnus Carlsen was the leader. Now Anish is the leader of the tournament, and Magnus Carlsen is dragged on the board. And also today we have a great derby too. It's Alireza Firouzja versus Fabiano Caruana. They're playing a really wild rook and queen endgame. You can also, of course, check it out on live streams, and probably someone is covering that game for sure, because it was really wild game. So let's check out now this game. It was the Gioco Piano, the Italian game. Magnus opened with e4, Anish e5, knight to f3, knight to c6, bishop to c4, bishop to c5. Here the symmetrical Gioco Piano. c3, we have knight to f6. So far, Anish is challenging, of course, the e4 pawn. Magnus is trying to get a breakthrough with the d4 move. So here d3, here castling. Magnus goes with b4, still standard stuff, and now bishop to e7. Although White gets always sort of a tempo here against the bishop, but sometimes this pawn structure, this c3 b4 followed with a3, can be broken with a5. So you have to be careful when you expand pawns. Then this pawn chain can be broken, and then you leave also some spaces behind. So moving pawns is not such an easy idea in chess. You have to be careful. So far, of course, this is main theory, but you see how Anish Giri will counterplay here. Also on the queen side, he'll try really to be active in this game. Here knight from b to d2, we have d5, very aggressive move by Anish. We have bishop to b3, and now bishop to g4. You see how Anish activates his pieces. He's playing very actively, which I really like, and especially in many games before, he played also very actively. Many times we have seen the position on Anish. Here in this tournament, he's playing sharp like tile, really aggressive. Bishop to g4, queen to c2. We have d takes e4, and now d takes e4. We have now a symmetry here. You see now we have 4 pawns on the king side, 3 pawns on the queen side. And whenever you see this kind of a pawn structure, the main goal for both sides is to create outspawn. So we can only make some kind of a dynamic position by placing some pieces here, maybe by this supported squares, by this centralized pawn. So it means black would love to cement one of these pieces, maybe knight or bishop here on f4 or on d4. So far it's not possible, because this pawn has taken out this very important square. From White's perspective, we're trying to occupy here the d5 square, or maybe the f5, because if you could just imagine something gets here on d5, then maybe after knight takes d5, e takes d5, then we would have again an asymmetrical pawn structure. Then of course White would have the domination on the queen side, but black would then have the domination on the king side, and then again really wild things could happen. So these are the main goals of this kind of position, but they have to be prepared. So far you see both players are controlling the squares very good. Bishop to d6, Anish fixes his pawn on e5, h3, bishop to h5. We have rook to b1. Magnus supports his queenside. He wants maybe to create also breakthrough here, something like a4, maybe a5, then maybe b5 if the position allows it, but still a risky choice. Knight to c4 is also a possibility, but again, you have to be careful because these two pawns can be also long-term weaknesses. So Anish can play bishop to g6 and target here this weak pawn. These pawns have to be protected. If you lose this centralized pawn, you will probably lose the game. So here a5, as I said, Anish breaks now the pawn chain that Magnus has built. We have a3. If you play b5, nothing dramatically has changed because we can still get a nice activity with our knight because the knights will most of the times find good ways into the game. So here Magnus plays this a3, tries to fix the position, and after a takes b4, we have a takes b4, but again the pawn structure is symmetrical, so nothing dramatically has changed, although it's not a fully symmetry. But we watch, when we talk about in chess about symmetrical positions, we always just watch the queen side and the king side, not really the whole pawn structure. So here after a takes b4, we have b5. Very good choice here by again by Anish Giri. He's not allowing immediately c4 pawn breakthroughs because then the b5 pawn, b4 pawn is also hanging. So castling by Magnus, we have knight to e7, here rook to e1, and now queen to c8. Here queen to d3 by Magnus, and it's at least it's evaluated here in my engine at the home as a mistake. Maybe there is this possibility to create some kind of a dynamic position with the move c4, but Magnus probably thought that it would be risky because you're weakening your b4 pawn. But after bishop takes b4, we can take out this centralized knight, and then the game would be probably really wide. But okay, black doesn't have to react. Black can take out this pawn. After bishop to c4, then we could go knight to g6. That's a very, very pragmatic idea with ideas to get our knight to f4. So here bishop to f1, maybe trying to get somehow some attacks on the c file, and now queen to e6. But still I think this is playable for both sides. Maybe Magnus could then search ideas like knight to c4. As we said, we're searching the squares, knight to c4, knight to e3, and maybe knight to f5, knight to d5. This could be an idea, but still it's very risky. Magnus tried here a normal move, queen to d3, try to keep the position compact. Here rook to b8, and now knight to h4. As we said, that are our main goals. Knight to g6, and here knight takes g6, bishop to g6, and really this is such an equal game that only a player can win this game if the other player makes a huge blunder. But of course the Anish Giri from the Tata Steel tournament doesn't make this kind of blunders, and Magnus Carlsen is of course a great player, although he's struggling, as I said, in this tournament, but he's not making in this types of position this kind of mistakes. So here again symmetrical position, nothing dramatically has changed. Knight to f1, we have rook to d8, challenging the queen. There are now of course some discovered attack possibilities against the queen, so that's why Magnus plays queen to f3, c5. You see, at least Anish is trying here to break the position somehow in the game. Bishop to g5, we have bishop to e7. You could maybe take here with something like c takes b4, but then you risk this idea bishop to f6. So far the position is a little bit glued together, and here Anish retreats. We have knight to g3, preparing again this knight to f5 outpost, and here Anish plays simply c4, locks the bishop, and now after bishop to c2, we have here a blocked pawn structure, here this static pawn structure. So it's again an equal position. Here the evaluation is maybe slightly better for black because of this advanced pawn, because of the space advantage, but still it's in many of possible lines an equal game. So here h6, we have bishop to e3, queen to c6 by Anish. We have knight to f5, bishop to f5, queen to f5. Finally Magnus Carlsen has some kind of a disbalance in the game. At least he has now the bishop pair, but it's a too close position to make something happen. Here Anish found a great way how to deactivate sort of Magnus Carlsen bishop pair, because here Anish prepared a trap. the pawn is hanging, but the problem is now you cannot take the pawn, and that's really cool move that Anish found, the g6, because if you play queen to e5, then you get bishop to d6, and taking out the knight is not a possibility. Queen to h2, discovered attack, and you lose the queen. The same thing happens because you don't have any other square. You could maybe try queen to d4, but then you're getting into the attack of the rook, so far not a possibility to take out this pawn, and Magnus has now to retreat. No way that Magnus is going into the game again with the queen. And now king to g7, we have rook to a1. Of course, Anish competes on the a file, queen to e2, rook to a2, a1, rook takes a1, and now again a competition on the a file. Here, after trades of rooks, queen to d2. Here Magnus prepares sort of a tactic, because if you try to take, then you lose also h6 pawn. It could be very risky. Here the game h5 first by Anish, and now king to h2. Now Magnus prepared a tricky line, because again, if you take knight takes e4, it's not a possibility because you get queen to d7, and you see now two pieces are hanging. You would be forced to play something like bishop to f6, but now Magnus could take here this pawn, and after knight to c3, we have queen takes c4, and this pawn structure is again asymmetrical, and it's a perfect position now for the bishop pair, because we could then simply proceed and push our pawn with the support of this bishop, but both of these bishops, this could be a risky game for black. So that's why Anish kept this head clear. He played a calm game. He played simply queen to c6, didn't rush into attacks. He knew that, of course, this should be draw in every other line here. Queen to e2, queen to e6, here g3, we have bishop to d8, king to g2, and now bishop to b6 first forces it for further trades of pieces. But now after bishop to g5, knight to h7, bishop to c1, Magnus is trying to get some kind of an activity, but here 3 times we have the repetition, and in move 42 it was a draw. So it was a fair draw. Anish defended here really great, without complications, which I really like. You don't want to, of course, go into complications against Magnus Carlsen. Full deserved win, and I think with this draw, even if Fabiano Caruana or Alireza Firouzja wins, Anish Giri will stay on the first place, and in the next round probably he's playing with the white pieces, so he has really great chances to win this tournament, and we wish him, of course, all of the best. So okay, I hope that you enjoyed this game. I really did enjoy it, because I think we have seen many great strategical ideas of the Italian game. If you want to see more games from this tournament, check out my links so far, my coverage of the tournament. Here's the link, and if you want to see maybe the best chess games of all times that I've covered so far, here's also the link. You can also check them out. They are really beautiful chess games from the history. And if you like this content, don't forget to subscribe to my channel. See you soon with some more videos, and chess is the best, of course.